Hello, welcome to what is it, the 15th day of January 2026. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video broadcast exercise that I do to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about yesterday and any noteworthy challenges or opportunities that I met. I go over my creed, and I prepare for the coming day. But first, welcome to my new subscribers to the channel. It's good to have you here. I'm Kurt, a 61-year-old retired American living here in Japan. I do this exercise every day to basically tune my life. Think of it this as a journal entry. So I'm at liberty to talk about the issues and challenges that I met, see how I did with them, and try to improve. I do talk about sensitive subjects such as death reliably every day, even if briefly. All right, with that, let's get started. Looking at the last 24 hours, I have a couple of notes here. One was I had a good language interaction yesterday. The second note is it said managed the horror well, and the third, well, so until the evening, and then the third was exhausted by evening. What I should say is that horror crept in the evening, or at least my well, actually I still managed it well, but it was visible in my every aspect. Let's go over these. First of all, I spent truly the greater part of the day yesterday out of doors, in the yard, in the garden, working. And one thing I wanted to point out that I've discovered, I thought that gardening in Japan was going to turn out to be a bit of a bust after last summer, when at the height of summer, at the hottest 2 months of the year, I was basically unable to spend very much time other than just a brief amount of time in the early morning and then in the evening in the garden, um, by virtue of the fact that simply the weather was too intense and extreme. A couple of things have changed. One, I'm getting much better fit for being in the garden. I'm spending a lot of time in the garden every day now, and my muscles are getting adjusted to the type of work that I do in the garden. I'm bending and squatting a lot. I'm adjusting a lot to that type of lifestyle, which is really great. Boy, if I tell you, if I could any type of physical fitness that I would want to achieve, it would be gardening fitness. That's good. But here was the surprising discovery. I discovered that for the vast bulk of the year, the garden is here in Shizuoka is perfectly accessible. We have very mild winters here in Shizuoka. There's no snow. Although I did get a little bit of video. There was some snow last week, just flurried down for a little bit, and quite strong, but that was very rare. Every maybe 10 years, you'll maybe see a little snow flurry here in Shizuoka City. It's very mild. Anyway, what I'm finding is that most of the year, the garden is just a fine place to be. There's lots of, with my backyard, the bamboo forest and the land in front of the river, there's lots of land to be cleaning and tidying up. So there's lots of things to do. Plus, there's actual, plants you can, there's things you can, there's winter produce and spring and summer produce. So good. That's great that the garden has turned out to be my sanctuary and a place that I can spend pretty much most of the year. The only time I'm really locked out of the garden is during the midday and the hottest days of the of summer, and that's all right. Anyway, good language interaction. I don't need to go very much on this, but I needed to go out and buy a pair of clippers yesterday. I needed to go to the hardware store. It was a bit of which would challenge me for my Japanese. It was a bit of a complex thing I needed to do. It wasn't that I wanted to buy new clippers. I wanted to get a replacement spring for the clippers that I had, and I wanted to go in and take care of that. So I had rehearsed some new vocabulary, prepared what I was going to say, and executed it quite well. I mean, maybe the Japanese people would 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 argue that I did a good job, but I think I did a good job. I got my meaning across successfully, and I was able to complete the task that I set up myself out to do. So I was pleased with that, and I'm not saying this by virtue of just to communicate that fact. What I'm trying to communicate is, and this is how I'm communicating to me. This is dear diary, dear diary. I set about with a complicated task yesterday that required me to use Japanese, and I I planned it out and prepared, learning some new vocabulary, practicing some some sentence patterns, and was able to pull it off successfully and did a good job. That is a good illustration of principles in my book, namely the good use of time, um, principle, which is objective number two, and also the principle of temperance to control my emotions so that I didn't just walk in unprepared. Principle of reason to plan things out a little bit, to learn some new vocabulary, practice it, and then execute it, make it happen. And then hashtag the objective of balance, which I achieved by so doing. The second item here says manage the horror well. So the horror show that I'm currently involved in the United States took a really dark turn yesterday. The type of dark turn that left me without words and without emotion for a good portion of the day. I went to the garden and clipped away and dug holes and kind of worked my way through it. You know, the horror of life uh, is so intense sometimes. And this isn't even me. It's not even my horror. It's secondary horror. I wonder what it'll be like when it's my turn, if I survive long enough and I have one or more horror shows of my own. Anyway, all I can manage actually say to this is that I used temperance to control my emotions, and I set myself to work in the garden for and then I did of course I organized a very careful communication. Like I'm communicating with you know the parties involved, two people yesterday that I was communicating with, and I had to give very careful thought to what I was going to say, plan my response well, and I did, and I think I did the best that I could. That's that for that. The number three though item here on the list is the exhausted by evening, and horror. And then there's a parenthetical comment here: horror creeping that I just added. I think by evening, by the dog walk time, I was so exhausted uh, that there was nothing left of me, and we did an extraordinarily long dog walk. And I must confess, I was moody and sulky during the dog walk, not engaging with my wife or my sister, just barely there. And my wife knows me well enough, and probably Yoko, my sister-in-law, knows me well enough to know that when I get really tired, I just go quiet and I don't engage, which is the safe bet to do, right? If heaven forbid, that I actually say something out of turn when I'm not when I'm not in control of my senses and my thoughts, even to the best that I can. I was thinking that maybe if this happens again, if I sense that it's like that, that I'll. Yumiko typically cooks dinner after 5 o'clock. Between 5 and 6, she cooks dinner, and then we take the dogs for a walk between about between 7 and 8. And I was thinking maybe if this happens again, I'll take the dogs for a walk while Yumiko. I take Rudy, the white dog, for a walk while Yumiko prepares dinner, and then Yoko and Yumiko and Ollie can go for a walk after that, just to just to remove myself from the equation if I sense that I'm having that type of day, which I'm having more and more often when the exhaustion of a good day of outdoor work combines with the horror. I'm I'm no good. I'm not suitable for company, and so if that happens, I should remove myself from the equation. My creed consists of 8 objectives. Number one, to be at all times ready for death, having my affairs, relationships, and life's work in order. And I am ready to die today. See, I told you I'd talk about death. And that's not a throwaway sentence to say that I'm ready for death. I really am ready to die. I have everything that I've ever wanted to do in life is done. I've raised my daughter, and all of my finances are in good shape. My wife is, if I die today, my wife is my main concern after death. My daughter's a young adult; she'll take care of herself. But my wife's a senior like me; she'll be cared for the rest of her life. So I am indeed ready to die. Don't want to die, but I'm ready. Second objective is and just linger on that for just a second. There's a great sense of peace that comes of having Well, it's a scary kind of a peace. It's a great sense of peace that comes of having one's life settled, but it's also a scary kind of a peace because it's easy to feel like there's nothing left to do and to not feel engaged towards new and interesting and vigorous ends. And I'll be the first to confess I'm vulnerable to that. So I have to be very careful, and I'm learning that I have to be careful, more and more careful every day as I assess my readiness for death to make sure that I haven't stopped living, right? And it's not an easy thing to do. Two, especially once in the age of the 60s, and I'm realizing this in spade. A lot of people my age, we they it's if you're not careful, the clutch disengages, the drive shaft disengages from the engine, and you start to coast, and coasting can be dangerous. My second objective is to make good and effective use of my time. Uh, Good means that it's my time is being utilized in the direction of virtue, where virtue is defined as actions and decisions that lead towards the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. That's a mouthful to say simply that making the world a better place, improving happiness, not at the expense of others. That's what the good use of time is. Effective means that it's not just a token effort, but it actually is done in such a way that that can yield good ends. And I strive to do that every day through all of the decisions that I make throughout the day. Three, to develop and maintain good and sound meaning that they can sustain the inquiry of reason, life objectives and principles. And I have all of mine outlined in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter titled The Good Life. You can read all 8 objectives and all 35 principles therein. The fourth objective is to cultivate good emotional reactions. A keystone, a hallmark of the good life is to be able to respond well in the immediate moment, to not fly off the handle or let emotions take us away. Number five is to perform good actions relative to these self same values. Number six is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, to know the scope and extent of my control. Number seven is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly, deliberately, and carefully so that I'm easing my way under guidance of reason throughout the day. And number eight is the principle of the objective of balance, which I'll go ahead and read. Balance can be found on page 251 of the hardbound edition of The Good Life, of Going Alone, in the chapter titled The Good Life. Balance. And it opens with a quote from the inimitable Dr. Johnson. Let me bring a light over here so I can see a little better. To have I'll do it in the voice of Johnson. To have the management of one's own mind is a great art that might be attended in a considerable degree by experience and habitual exercise. That's exactly what I strive to do. Let's see if I can read this. The difficult thing of keeping upright and straight and walking, remember, this is balance. The difficult thing of keeping upright and straight and walking forward without too much stagger or sway. It's no easy thing when ambush comes our way or when our limbic system kicks in with suggestions, drives, and sudden emotions we did not expect. Like a tightrope walker, stepping carefully on the narrow way with open expanse below and sway and movement everywhere about. I will strive to not fall just now or tomorrow, and I will walk and think each day ready for whatever winds or blinding sunlight or rain or sudden storm or long expanse of burning sun or the tedium of no change may come my way. Back on the topic of being prepared for death and having one's life's work complete, that's an example right there. So I don't read this every day, my principle or objective every day for its own sake. I do it because I want to fortify myself with my own best practice. Um, because what I've codified in the book is the result of my life's effort of trying to live deliberately and carefully, and then to read that and to read those words and to realize that's exactly what I wanted to say. Those words came out, they were written out in precisely the manner that I wished them when I wrote them out, is very satisfying to when seeking a stable mind in the face of death. And we're always in the face of death, right? To realize, yep, that's exactly what I wanted to say. The principle of balance, to be able to maintain my upright posture in both body and mind in the face of uh, the tumultuous uh, 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 climate and atmosphere of life change. And it's not an easy thing. It's not just something that comes naturally. It comes with practice, like learning to walk a tightrope. Okay, the next 24 hours. Well, it's a Thursday. I'm completely free. Having this one day of the week, Tuesday, to do two 45-minute lessons brings back, this is worth noting. This is really worth noting. Brings back the sense of a weekend. Before, when I was every day free, you kind of lose track of it. It's just, okay, here's another day. But I'm in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how many days away am I from dressing up again and going into work and actually doing and showing up? And I realized, well, I'm still 4 days away. What is it today? It's Thursday. So I've Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Wait, today's Thursday? Yeah. Well, let's say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I have 5 days. I still have 5 days ahead of me, including today. And then you realize, well, you're still facing down a 5-day weekend. I'll tell you, that's nice. It's nice it's just changing perspective a little bit, putting on the attitude of the workaday man and saying, when do I show up for work again? Another 5 days. So today, as for today, I think it's going to be another full day of garden work. I did get some new clippers yesterday, as I said earlier. That's the tool that I went in to get to repair my old clippers. Turned out I couldn't, so I further enlisted the gentleman there, exercising my very best attempts at Japanese to help me pick out a quality pair of clippers. This time I didn't skimp cost. I bought a really good pair, the best pair in the store, to arm my side. And I'm going to spend a lot of time in the garden. Yesterday, I did two big things. I worked on the Sasa riverfront bamboo, dwarf bamboo grove, cutting back a lot of that, which was very, very satisfying. I could just sit there all day long and cut bamboo. And then after that, I was inspired by my neighbors who have planted their garden peas. And Yumiko and I went to Kynes, which is a hardware store here that has a beautiful garden center. Yumiko bought pansies to plant in the backyard, and I bought two varieties of garden peas that I planted yesterday using bamboo, forming a a trellis made out of bamboo from my own bamboo forest, and then utilizing some antique hemp that I bought to form the first cross member, so to speak, for the peas to climb on. But I don't think the hemp. I think it's too antique. I don't think its integrity is strong enough that I don't think it'll last the first breeze. So I'll probably go back to the hardware store and find something else. Maybe even get some plastic netting to use for the peas. Although I would like to use all biodegradable materials, I think I might not be able to. I could get some twine. Twine might do the job just fine. Maybe I'll do that. Just get some twine instead. And then I am having coffees with my good friend Jim Mullins, Mully. We're going to meet at the bench today, um, uh, and at 12:30. So I'll have lunch on my own. I'll probably just get some lunch at the convenience store, and Mully and I are going to meet and talk and have some guy talk. That'll be fun. Okay, let's read comments. There's April. Says good morning. Good morning, April. Robert says, hello, Kurt and April. Currently, whoa, I'm going to burn my sweater. Currently 39 degrees Fahrenheit, 90% humidity with an air quality index of 52 in Napanee, Ontario, Canada. Beautiful. Robert, it looks like it's just about 2 degrees here, although it's still a little too dark to read the thermometer. Uh, as for humidity, it looks like it's like 65 or something like that. Marmite says hello to April, aka Udatsu, Tim, and Sensei Kurt. Oh, hello to you, Marmite. Robert says hello to Marmighty. Elvina, hello. Elvina says hello to myself. Udatsu Adventures, Believe in Yourself, aka Robert, and Marmighty. Marmighty says, Elvina, great to see you here. Believe Robert says hello to Elvina. Soraha says hello from Maine. Hello, Soraha. I hope I'm pronouncing your handle correctly. Evelyn, hi, Evelyn. Hi, Kurt, Ms. Udatsu, Marmighty, Robert, and Elvina. You were on my mind yesterday. I was just sitting in the garden yesterday, chopping away, and I was thinking, I wonder. I hope Evelyn's doing all right. I know you're facing some big challenges in your life, Evelyn, and I was mulling through mine. Sometimes um, empathy, empathy seeks application, right? And I was thinking about you, just wishing you well. Robert says hello to Suraha, Evelyn, and Zelij Kamovije. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, and welcome to you. Did I miss your comment somewhere? I don't know. I didn't see. Evelyn says hello to Suraha. Uh, and Elvina says, a cold, cloudy day here, 4 degrees Celsius, 75% humidity. We have a forecast of 5 to 10 centimeters of snow over the next day or so. Light into the candles. Ooh, snowy, cold days. Alvina says hello to Evelyn. Marmighty says, Kurt, I know you're going through some tough stuff recently, but most people turn away from this reality and you look at it honestly. I have much respect for you in that. Thank you. It certainly hasn't been easy, but I want to affect good ends, Marmighty. I um truly life and death are hanging in the balance. Look at this. What the heck is going on here? Eh, That's a regular bonfire going on. This is an antique candle holder that I bought at a flea market. Um, and what's happened is that there's a big pool of wax at the bottom, and which has built up over I could roast a marshmallow here. It's, that wax has built up recently, and now it's spreading all over the place. This is getting out of hand. Might have to blow and it's starting to get the handle starting to get warm. Although I think in just any second now, the wax should burn down. Anyway, Marmory, thank you for your nice words. To me, I I have to I want there. I think it's finally burned down, and now it's about to flame out. Let's watch it flick out. There we go. I can't afford to not take this situation very seriously, um, when life and death are literally on the line. Marmite continues, lots of people here and elsewhere care about you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That really means a lot to me. Marmite says, there is a lot of beauty out there still. Please look for it. I know. Others here have stated it better than me. Um, or maybe it wasn't here, it was in comments. I get a lot of interesting comments. Um, the horror show, and I know, it's almost like I can't talk about it. So I used to wonder, and I'm not going to talk about it, but I used to wonder sometimes why, when I was working in a convalescent home, when I was in college, I was in my early 20s, and I was surrounded by oldsters, on death's door, literally, in the last years of their lives, living in a convalescent home, basically, in some cases, in a hospice type of environment, and I would wonder why they would be so quiet and they wouldn't talk about a lot of things. They weren't depressed. They just didn't talk about a lot of things. And I sus- I've suspected over the years, and now that I'm a, a senior citizen myself, and my body and my mind are both beginning to decline quite rapidly, I'm starting to see that there's no use talking about some of the things that are discovered at this season. You have to just let the season unfold, and people may or may not experience it. I wish I wish everyone the best as if they're lucky enough to survive as long as possible, and for whatever unfolds, whatever is discovered here in the this autumn, heading into winter of life. And I only say winter for me because I know 62 doesn't. I'm only 61 going on 62. Doesn't sound like that old, but I know myself. I'm not going to be around a long time. I'm definitely falling. I'm definitely falling fast. So for me, it feels like more like early winter. So yeah, maybe you don't. It's not even anything to say, because if you try to say something, then then people say the things that they say, which it's like I'm not even gonna say it. Wow, there's a lot of comments. Okay, here we go. I think I know from where I left off. Mog, hi Mog. Good to see you. Kurt, so glad I caught a good life again. Been loving the return to your content and so glad you found teaching again. I wish you all the best as always. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm enjoying the teaching. Um, Robert says hello to Mog. Mog says hello to Robert. Japan monomore. More. I don't know how to pronounce the French. We should all be ready to die when we get to around 70 years of age. Nothing is guaranteed. You have to live your dreams out while still healthy. For me, I prefer to be ready for death at all stages of life. So I'm 61 right now and ready to die. Um, and it's because it's satisfying knowing that those who depend on me won't have to worry should I die. And also to know that the most important thing that I set out to do in life is all done, and that's useful. No, sure, at a younger age, if at 40, if I said that my life work was done at 40, well, I would probably challenge myself to say, "Hey, really? Are you really done, Kurt?" But at 62, 61, yeah. April says, "I'm very thankful that my dad had everything pretty much set up to where wasn't too stressful beyond his actual death, such as material things and finances and everything." Exactly. April says, "Yeah, as a SAHM even, the days get away from me because I'm just home all the time unless the kids have an active extracurricular. Oh, single. No, wait. Something at home mom. I don't know what the S stands for. I'm just home all the time unless the kids have an active extracurricular or an appointment or something I have to plan for." Elvina says to April, "My parents were the same. They had their affairs very well settled before they passed away. A lot of decisions had been made, so we were free to mourn." Evelyn says, "I'm not ready to die. My affairs are not in order." April says, "I've been watching Molly for so long, I feel like tell him hi for me." I will do that. It's funny how much you online folks become part of viewers' lives. I'll definitely tell Molly that, and he'll really appreciate that. He's that kind of guy that really appreciates anything like that. April says, "I have a lot of Norwegian death cleaning or whatever it's called before I die. My kids won't want all of my stuff, but financially, everything is okay for me to go. My son knows all my passwords." Vanilla Heart. Hey, Vanilla Heart. Good to see you. I feel like I'm late summer, 37 years. Chimed in late, just saying hello. It's good to see you. Robert says hello to Vanilla Heart. Robert says, "Love this Kurt. Love this Kurt. My grandpa used to often say he had no idea he was going to live so long." Mm-hmm. Elvina says, "Have a great day. All time for me to head home for the evening. Have a safe trip home." Oh, Evelyn says, "I know what you are going to say. Yes, better not to say anything." I figured you'd know. Robert says bye to Elvina. Villanella Heart says, "My parents both passed very early, 47 and 56, due to bad luck. Basically, I want to be more prepared. I don't have a will yet, and I feel like I need to do something about that." Evelyn says, "Let me clarify. I am only not ready to die in the sense that my will isn't prepared." Ah. April says, stay at home mom. Sorry. Okay. Marmite says, the horizon becomes clearer when you stop pretending it is infinite. Japan Monomore says, Molly had some health issues a long time ago with diabetes, but caught it in time with no harm done. And if I can speak on his behalf, he made a strong effort to address his diabetes and got himself in great shape as a result of his own efforts. April says, I'm probably going to die before I'm ready. I expect, based on family history, to live way longer than I want. But since I expect a long life, it will probably be cut short. You and me are the opposite. My family history is that the men in my family die young. So if I live long, I'll be surprised. So it's interesting how we hedge our bets both ways, right? All right. Well, I think that's it for me for today. There's lots of people here today, lots of interesting chat and conversation. Marmite says, wishing everyone here a kind days. Good luck out there. Be safe, but not too safe, everybody. I hope everyone has a good day. And as for me, tonight, I expect I'll die in my sleep. Bye bye. See if I can do this without burning myself. Robert says hello to Japan Monomar. Japan Monomar says good night to me. Robert says thank you, Kurt, bye all. And April says even in the 1600s to 1700s, my ancestors lived into the 80s and 90s range. Wow, you know your ancestors that far back? I'm impressed. We hope not. I hope not too. April says have a good one. Bye all.